sag off Michael Moore.
Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Boxing, Weights and Rugby YouTube channel. I have with me tonight Michael, Enda, and Luke. And today we've got the big one. We will be doing our end of year boxing awards. How are we all doing, gents?
Sorry, Adam. You mean end of year boxing rewards?
Yeah, you would have it that way, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be back, guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, we've missed you, man. You've been
Yeah,
well.
I know.
Who are you? Michael got his man strength.
Yeah, I've had this come in, to be fair. So, but yeah, it's good to be back, boys.
Have you been on the Conor Ben diet? You're looking bigger.
I actually lost a bit of weight, funny enough. But,
No, but you're looking more muscular, is what I mean.
Thank you, Enda.
You probably lost your baby fat. You know, you're getting your man weight now.
Stop flirting me, Enda. Stop.
Right. What award do we want to go for first before this gets any stranger?
Adam, you're just jealous because I'm usually hitting on you.
That's true. I am just jealous. Absolutely.
But don't worry. You've got Luke.
Luke and I will get along just fine.
Oh, geez. The biggest bromance since frickin' John Travolta and that person that he wasn't shagging.
Samuel L. Jackson.
No. Once you go black, you never go back, huh?
Oh, Christ, okay.
I've never heard the rumors about Samuel L. Jackson. Maybe Forrest Whitaker. So does that make you a bit racist? Mm-hmm.
What? I'm very confused. I've missed a lot.
Anyway, back to the boxing.
Back to the boxing, and that's why it's called that.
Oh, you stole my line.
There we go. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the kind of categories we went through, and at the very end, we'll finish up with the pound for pound list. Simple system. I basically asked everybody for their results, tabulated everything, and if anybody... Yep. Yeah, probably right, Stephen. And if it
you pay extra, insert your credit card number now.
It's the John Travolta show, really.
Yeah. And if anything tied, I got the casting vote, which is nice and simple. But to start with, it was a fairly easy one. We had Fighter of the Year, and unanimously, well, not quite unanimously, but for the most part, everybody picked Naoya Inoue.
Okay, I have one question. Who didn't?
There's always one.
I'm not outing anybody unless they want to out themselves.
Mr. Man enough to say it. Oh, well, he's Bud's biggest fan. He loves Bud more than he loves you, Adam, and that's saying something.
He didn't pick Bud.
I did pick Bud.
You put up your hand. Oh, who the fuck did you pick?
Devin Haney.
Good show.
Do you know, because I've been a Devin Haney fanboy of that famous four, I always said Haney. I actually respect that decision because Haney didn't get the props he deserved.
You were Ryan Garcia, weren't you?
What?
I thought you said Ryan Garcia.
Who?
You said Ryan Garcia was the best of the lot.
On Instagram, yeah. look at that speed bag. Things that don't punch back.com /Ryan/
I think my argument would be that beating Lomachenko, and that was a tight fight.
Oh, right?
Yeah. And beating Lomachenko and then moving up and beating Prograis in the fashion he did makes him Fighter of the Year. I think
you know what? Do you know what? I agree with you that he would be above Bud, but I disagree about obviously Fighter of the Year.
I think Inouye's a better fighter, but I think Fulton didn't show up, right? We all know that. We can all agree.
But that's not Inouye's fault.
Well,
at the same time, you can't say like someone was crap, so we can't give them props. Like when you can give Inoue props.
No. What you have to consider is why was Fulton crap? Was he freaked out by Inoue the same way Smith was freaked out by Canelo? And if he was, then that's the effect of Inoue. So, I don't accept that premise.
For me, Devin was more impressive in his wins. That's the way I look at it.
That's perfectly good logic, and I accept that. But
what do you think, Michael?
Being two times undisputed within 13 months is just phenomenal. You know?
Incredible.
I see Luke's point about Devin Haney. I think on paper, Devin Haney's hands down has the best wins, like with Lomachenko and Prograis.
Oh yeah, he has the best wins.
I do side with Enda. I think Inoue was more impressive in those wins. I think I see where you're coming from, Luke. And Fulton didn't turn up. I think he shit himself, and I think part of elite boxing, you've got to hold your nerve. You've got to perform in the ring when it counts.
And why he shit himself
That's why maybe part of the reason.
Why he shit himself was who he was facing across the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't just shit himself because he'd been champion. He'd fought people. He was very good on doing very well in the US. He turns up, sees Inoue, and builds a house of bricks in his cup protector. So yeah,
just the way I look at it.
Oh no, I'm not saying. But like, had you said Bud Crawford, I'd have been more upset. Put it that way.
He's my number 2, so.
But I think I definitely see the Haney argument for sure with Lomachenko and Prograis on paper.
You're just racist against Japanese people.
But I think because for me, I would have picked Haney, but I think because I'm still not quite sure if he actually beat Lomachenko and how close it was.
That's perfectly.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that was a close fight. However, I gave that fight to Haney. You know?
Did you rewatch it recently, Adam?
Yes.
How did you score it?
7-5 Lomachenko, same as the first fight.
Fair. Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, same as the first time I watched it. Yeah. So for me,
who did you give it to, Luke?
I had it 7-5 Haney.
So did I, actually. So
I had a similar. I'd Haney Nick in the early rounds, but I thought I wouldn't have argued if Lomachenko had won that, though.
No, it was a toss-up of a round. Like, that's why it's 7-5. It's no greater, or and anyone that scores 6 all should be brought out and shot. And anyone,
so did everyone else go Inoue?
Yeah, so this was it. So everybody went Inoue, and I think, to be honest, I think the thing that hurt Haney's case more than anything else, I think the Prograis performance was fantastic, was the fact that I think I know that, Michael, who did you score it for? Did you score it for Haney?
No, Inoue.
Yeah. Sorry.
For the top of the list or for the Lomachenko fight?
For the Lomachenko thing.
Oh, no, I had it for Haney, about 7-5, just edging it by around there too.
So, so outside of us, I think the majority of people across Twitter and kind of social media at the time thought Lomachenko won that fight. Yeah. Whether it's changed now or not, that kind of happens.
But you know what that is? You know what that is, Adam? That is late round bias. Haney had banked rounds, and if a person finishes strongly, non-judges have a tendency to only score the last few minutes of each round, and the last rounds always score higher in their mind than the early rounds because of recency bias. If they're not putting it pen on paper round by round, they just go at the end, Lomachenko won that, ignoring the first 6 or 7 rounds, which Haney would have banked.
Well, I think there was a fair few people on Twitter that I know that score it bit by bit. I'm sure Tebbit had Lomachenko. I'm sure Clark had Lomachenko. So there are guys that we know that sit and score it bit by bit that had it for Lomachenko. But I think that was it. For Inoue, I thought, because Luke, did you pick Fulton?
I did.
Fight? Yeah. So I think we tend to forget that Inoue, he was so good. He was just levels and leagues above Fulton. And I just think that I don't necessarily think Fulton didn't turn up. I just think he was nowhere near good enough style-wise. And I think the fact that he was undisputed across 2 weight classes in 13 months, I thought those 2 wins and what that means in terms of an achievement for Inoue now being 5 weight classes up from where he started, I sided with that. And the fact that they were knockouts as well, and that's a massive thing for me, is they were knockouts.
It's the way he dismantled them, the way how easy he made it look. Don't get me wrong, the last fight he was on Boxing Day, it was competitive enough, but the way he finished.
Palace fight was
but I have to say,
he turned up to the last opponent. I can't remember his name. Sorry.
To Palace,
he really turned up.
Credit because I don't know if you know, boys, but I was doing the watch along for Joel on JG's Fight Talk, Boxing Media Hub, because Joel had familial commitments that most normal people have at Christmas, except losers like me don't. Anyway, I don't care if I had 7 kids hanging out with me; they were fucking gone when the end is watching. When daddy's gonna watch him some Inoue now, so fuck off. So, but I think child services take away the kids, so that'd make it easier actually. But what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, I did the watch along for JG's Fight Talk, and me and 2,800 people were just in awe of Inoue's performance. But give Tapales his due. He stood toe to toe with Inoue for so long, and when
he won a couple of rounds.
He won the 2 rounds prior to the stoppage because I think it was a big 5th, if I'm not mistaken, by Inoue, and then he kind of took the foot off the gas for 6, or maybe it was 4 and 5 and 6 Well, but anyway, either or, yeah, I gave 2 rounds to Tapales prior to the knockout, but everything else was for Inoue, and Inoue did have the knockdown in the early rounds as well. So it was just a masterclass display. But Tapales has definitely his reputation has, excuse me, grown as a result of that fight, not diminished.
Because I didn't think Tapales beat him.
Sorry, Adam. I was just saying that this is the second year now, and Inoue's become undisputed in another weight category as well.
It was last December 13, so it was over a calendar year, but it was December 13 last year, where he was trying to chase down Paul Butler, who was running around the ring, but eventually he did, and he stopped him, and so that made him undisputed. And then he immediately went up, and within the 13 months, 12 and a half months, really, he had taken all the baubles at the higher weight class. And featherweight seems to be next, or bantamweight, is it? Which one? My head's gone. Featherweight is next. Sorry?
Super bantam.
Yeah, no, he's super bantam champ, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
featherweight next, isn't he?
So from listening to Steve Kim and Doug Fisher, they were saying that the plan for next year is Neri and MJ Akhmadaliev, so he's actually going to stay at 122.
Okay.
Well, they'd be good fights, so I'd be perfectly happy with that. I mean, let's face it, as you said, he's come up, 5 weight classes?
5 weight classes, light flag too.
Like, you had Yanks on board, and there's typical Yank fashion. Number one, accusing him of things he's never, ever, ever been remotely accused of. And number two, saying he should fight Devin Haney. Like, Devin Haney is how many fucking weight classes above him? Like, cop yourselves on. If you want to be taken seriously as boxing fans, don't come out with shit like that, please.
The only thing I'd like to see, and this isn't me dissing Inoue, I love him.
No, you don't. You've clearly expressed that by putting him down in number 3. Or is he number 3? Don't tell me. You've got Anthony Joshua and fucking Deontay Wilder probably ahead of him.
I think Deontay would probably beat Inoue, to be fair.
Well, considering what our Kiwi friend did, I think Inoue would do more damage.
Could you imagine that?
I mean,
if
Andy Lee can get Joseph Parker to beat Wilder, I don't think Inoue would be frightened of him at all.
But I'd love to see, like in Japan, the only advantage he has fighting in Japan is, we discussed this before, is the stacking of the hand wraps.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be careful here. They're not stacked illegally. It's what he's doing.
No, it's not illegal. That's what I'm saying. It's in Japan.
It's also legal in the United States. Yes, that's the whole United bit. It's like the European Union. Things are legal in some countries that aren't in others. It's a union of states and one's a union of countries.
So like, say if you fought in Nevada or New York, it wouldn't be. And I would just love. This is just my curiosity. I'd love to see how his power translates without it.
Didn't he fight in the bubble in Vegas?
He did fight without these hand wraps.
When he knocked out Maloney.
Yeah.
He knocked out Maloney.
He didn't need stacked hand wraps for that.
He had 2 in Vegas.
So there you go. There's examples of him without stacked
hand wraps.
There you go. That's me.
How do you like them apples?
You know what I'd really like? I would like the Neri fight in Vegas or Cali, just to see how that would go. And then Akhmadaliev, and I think it's Goodman is the Australian guy that they're talking about as well. So if you could fight those
Goodman's
3
very
next
likely
year.
to be in Japan. Like, people forget, Japan has got 120 million people on an island that's smaller than the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's mad. Most densely populated places, and the 2 highest populated cities where names are not palindromes. What's the alterations of the letters? Different orders. No, we'll move on. That's fine. I've done it. I've done the first thing. Tokyo and Kyoto.
Oh yeah, they're anagrams.
Oh, anagram.
There we go.
Yes,
Thank you, gentlemen. Right, moving on.
Once you said Kyoto, I knew it was an anagram. I just wasn't, because I knew Tokyo isn't a palindrome, dude.
Right. On to the domestic fighter of the year. Okay, this fairly simple. Britain, Ireland. This was another one where it was 4 out of 5, and Lee Wood was the fairly consensus victor on that front after a really, really good year. One that didn't necessarily start brilliant for him, but what a way to kind of come back.
Yeah. And can I just say on that, Lee Wood doing what he did was like Katie Taylor doing what she did. It's avenging that loss in the manner in which they did. and they deserve huge kudos for that, both of them. Now, Kel Surprise, you know, spoiler alert, Katie's my domestic female fighter of the year, you know, so like the two of them, their parallels are very similar. And what annoyed me most, and I was not a Lee Wood fan before he fought Zhu Khan. And even the Zhu Khan fight, I was like, whatever. But since then, he has won me over. I'm a huge admirer of his. He has just got that bite down on his gum shield, determination. He will get from being way behind to absolutely sparking out. You know, Michael Conlan, okay, he's been down quite a lot. But what he did, how he demolished the people's champion, that is Josh, here's the belt from EddieHearn.com, Warren. It was wonderful, you know. And everyone said it was a lucky punch. I was like, how about 6 big hooks, you freak? You know, I mean, and he sent Josh Warrington back to his daddy like a child with a soiled nappy. He was waddling that.
You're a big fan of Warrington, you Ender.
What?
You're a big fan of Warrington, then, are you?
It's a lovely city. It's near Liverpool, isn't it?
No, Josh Warrington.
No comment.
Wasn't on the Christmas card list, Ender, no?
What do you think, Luke?
I didn't send Christmas cards this year. I donated money to UNICEF for the innocent children of Gaza.
Very good.
What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I think Lee Wood is a fair shot. I picked him. Domestically, like, he's probably pound for pound one of the better fighters in Britain. He can do a lot. You know, he's very versatile. Defensively, he's pretty good when he wants to be, but most time he just wants to fight because he knows he can handle it. So he lets himself take shots.
It's very risky business, as they'd say, though.
Yeah, bit high risk, high reward, isn't it? And
well, it is, because this will be an interesting one. You know, two fighters in the Eddie Hearn stable, Joe Cordina in the Forest Ground, or is it going to be just Warrington? Like we all know it's going to be anyway.
I think it'll be Warrington again, personally.
I think it'll be Warrington.
Yeah, I think Wood deserves it. You know, his relationship with Ben Davison is excellent. You know, full trust, believes everything.
Yeah, I think that's the reason I didn't like him, actually. Well, it was 3 little letters, 3 words put him to his final resting place, as they say, in Chasing Waterfalls by TLC, and it ain't autoimmune deficiency. It's the other 3 letters, MTK.
Well, look, I won't begrudge any fighters stuff like that. They were just doing as they were told. But
those German soldiers were just obeying orders.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna get this back on track. Michael, what did you think?
Like Lee Wood.
Sorry.
Go on, Luke. You can finish your point, and I'll go now.
Yeah, no, like I think Lee Wood can do it all. He has had big wins, and like the Warrington fight did not go how I expected. I did not expect Josh to be able to put it on him like that. And I think kudos to Josh for his performance. It was excellent. And I think if any stoppage defeat deserves a rematch, he actually does. I think he really performed well. Because neither of them have anything to give. Neither of them are going to be going challenging for titles.
No, but you said he deserves a rematch. Like,
because
neither of them
have that
quite well.
Not a rematch.
But, like, I mean, he used his head like he's always done. I mean,
he was punching up Lee Wood, in fairness.
But he threw his head in. What?
One thing.
Yeah.
It's not a million miles away from the Lara fight, in that I thought Wood was schooling Lara before he knocked him cold. And I thought that Warrington was winning the fight before Wood knocked him out. But
and he was
Warrington was winning the fight, but like we said with Chris Billum-Smith. I mean,
by the way, Chris was the other fighter that got nominated for this.
I wonder who nominated him.
I don't know who did that.
I think Wood right shout.
Yeah, I think Lee Wood's probably fair. Michael, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Do you hold it against, or do you think it's even more impressive that a fighter comes back from defeat in the way that Wood did when you're kind of looking at an award for something like this? So are you going at the year, yes, he got knocked out this year, or are you going, he got knocked out, but he came back?
Yeah, that's the reason why I gave it to Lee Wood. I think, I was torn between 2 boxers to give it to us, between him and Katie Taylor, and both for similar reasons. However, I feel like if you get knocked out in a defeat and come back and beat the person, I think it's a bit more impressive than losing on points at home and avenging that loss, if that makes sense. I know I'm being a bit harsh here, but I think, and I also
the only thing I'd say about that, Michael, is there's very few stoppages in women's boxing.
I'm not comparing the women's and men's thing. I'm just talking about boxing in general, really. But I just feel like,
but you know, like it'd be very unlikely for that to happen in women's boxing. Very unlikely.
Well, that's for another discussion, I guess, another debate. But yeah, I think to come back from a knockout loss and beat that person the way he beat what's his bloody name again? Lara, sorry. He beat Lara. He beat Lara. It was really impressive. And then to beat Josh Warrington, when, as we all agreed, he was getting battered, wasn't he? Let's be honest. He was getting really schooled against Warrington, and then pulling out the bag still and getting a knockout win. So yeah, I would like to be honest with you. I'd really like to see that rematch of Warrington sometime this year. Yeah, that'd be great. I think. I think Warrington, and to be honest, I think Warrington does deserve the rematch. I think he was winning. I think he's a big enough draw to warrant that rematch. And I think it makes sense business wise. And I think they both deserve a big payday. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that fight.
Yeah. I'd be happy to have the Warrington rematch or the Cordina fight. I'd happily have either of those.
Yeah, same. To be honest,
I think Cordina should be fighting Navarrete.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a preferable one, certainly for Joe, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, Eddie Hearn will just protect that cash cow and have him fight in Vegas for people with lots of money who don't.
Is Cordina a cash cow though? Like, I love Cordina, but is he bringing in?
No, but he's a cash cow because he's a champion. Eddie doesn't have too many champions no more.
Yes. Anyway, back to what we were talking about before we go on the Cordina boat.
That's it. Before we go on a Cordina rabbit hole, that's fine. I've avoided a Billum Smith rabbit hole, so we're moving on to a much more competitive category, which was the fight of the year. Now, there was 2 fights nominated for this, and the winner was Jaime Munguia versus Derevinchenko by 1 vote.
Ooh, 1 vote. What was the other fight?
Haney Lomachenko.
Fair enough.
So 2 really good fights, and I think we were debating this earlier on, and this was actually Stephen's vote that was the one that kind of cast it to Munguia. I think the difference between the Derevinchenko-Munguia fight and Loma Haney is Loma Haney is a higher standard of fight.
Yeah,
that was a proper elite level fight.
It was a chess match.
It was an aggressive chess match as well, but Munguia and Derevinchenko had drama, and I think that made the difference. Stephen, big drama show, absolutely. So Stephen was the one that did that. Gentlemen, we have people who voted for both here. So, Luke, would you like to make your case?
Yeah. Look, I had it for Lomachenko Haney, fight of the year. For what I'll say for Munguia Derevinchenko is, if you were to show someone a fight from 2023 that's never watched boxing and you want them to become a casual fan of boxing, that's the one, right? It's got the drama, it's got the blood.
Can I just say one thing?
I don't think that's humanly possible.
What's up, Enda?
Sorry, I can just see Enda desperate to say something.
Desperate to
I'm just getting off the laugh. Sorry.
Far away, man. Far away.
I just think, and it's not a slight on Luke. Let's go this way. Just using that term casual doesn't help boxing's case. There are far more casual football fans, but instead of casting them aside, they squeeze the fucking lard out of them for money. And boxing is decided to other people, and they really shouldn't do that for a fight that's for a minority sport that's getting smaller.
What would you call them?
Fans. Like, why do you have to other them?
Because there's some people, like, I would class myself a casual fan of darts. I'll watch the darts later because it's the big thing right now. I'm not a darts fan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But why the need to label it? You know, because you're othering people and it's not nice and it doesn't help your sport. Like, I mean...
Okay, so for occasional... If I wanted someone to be an occasional watcher of boxing...
If you wanted someone to get into the sport of boxing, if you wanted to encourage them into boxing, you would show them that fight.
And they would enjoy it. Anyone would enjoy that fight.
Yeah.
You don't have to...
Unless they didn't like fighting, of course.
Do you remember Max Kellerman?
Do
you remember Max Kellerman did the very famous thing where he said... Yeah, that's what this fight was. Is it was like you've got Taylor, you've got Federer and Nadal playing tennis here, Jordan and Larry Bird playing basketball there, Messi and Ronaldo playing in the corner, and two blokes having a punch up. Everyone's watching the two blokes having a punch up. That's what
exactly
Munguia was. It was.
But
It was
we
really,
see
really
that
good.
in football as well. I mean, you can have master classes in football, but people want to see that 4-3 match where defense is just out the fucking window, you know.
So getting to my point for why I think Loma and Haney is the better fight.
Good lad.
I think it had a bit of everything. It had less drama than Derevyanchenko and Munguia did, but it didn't lack drama. Like when it got to 10 and 11, 12 rounds, the championship rounds, it was really nip and tuck. And like I was on the edge of my seat because it was punch for punch nearly at this stage. Loma was pulling away a little bit, but Haney was still keeping up with him as best as he could. Like Loma took the later round, that's fair enough. But I thought it was nip and tuck, really high level, both men thinking about what each other was doing, and everything was considered. It was just such a great, aggressive chess match between the two of them. And that's what I love. Like I'm a boxing pure, I love that. And I think if I was going to get someone into the sport and understanding the cerebral aspect of it while enjoying a good fight, that's the one.
Yeah, that's a very quality match. And it was one of those ones where obviously we were discussing. So I thought Lomachenko won that fight, but it was fought as such a standard that I thought higher of Haney for it. I was like, right, he's showing that he's an elite fighter.
I think both people got pros in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Michael,
both got pros in the Inoue Tapales fight on Boxing Day. I mean,
another one, yeah.
You know, and even Munguia, Derevyanchenko, both of the fighters came out well of that because anyone said, "Oh, I want to see those guys in a fight again, irrespective of who they're facing." You know, they're the bums on seats guys. You know, and that's the difference. And for me, that's why it wins Fight of the Year, because we are a minority sport and we're getting smaller. MMA is taking over. There's no linear TV channel showing boxing in America from now. I mean, that's the danger sport is in, and everyone seems to be in denial about it. On the internet, it's like, oh, boxing's very popular, and it's like, it's not. You know, like TV executives don't drop a sport if it's popular. You know, the money's gone out of boxing. You know, only if you're backed by the mob can you make any money in boxing now. Well, which are always, it was like that in the 30s, but then the TV companies took over in terms of HBO and, you know, Showtime and all of that, but they're gone now. And, you know, the general public aren't into watching things on apps, you know. And in the United States, the Zone is still on an app. It's not a linear TV station.
But back to the Fight of the Year.
Well, I think that was that was my reasoning for why I gave it to Munguia Derevyanchenko, because it ticked all the boxes for the majority of people who watch boxing.
I think Stephen really summed that up nicely, which is it's hard to beat a bit of blood and guts. But if you're looking at, there's so many ways to appreciate our sport. But I think I know that if you were to take Luke's favorite fighter and my favorite fighter, it will tell you exactly what we love about exactly the same sport. And the idea that you can have such an appreciation for both is why the four of us are spending our Wednesday evening after New Year's chatting about hypothetical.
Well, that's because I'm a loser and I don't have friends. But anyway,
I'm afraid I can't help you there either. I'm in the same boat. Michael, what was your?
I thought you were going to say I'm not going to be your fucking friend.
That would be mean. I would never do that. Michael, what was your pick?
Fucking hell, boys! I can't even compose myself at the moment. I'm just laughing too much. All right. Yeah, the same reasons as Luke, pretty much. I just feel like I'm not a casual boxing fan. Sorry, Ender. So I like. No, I'm a joke.
But do you label others as casual?
No. So the reasons why is because for me, I think like most of us, we're in the sport of boxing. We follow the sport of boxing, watch the best fight the best, and I think that was I picked Haney Lomachenko, by the way. That was a real throwback to the sort of high-level fights like Ray Leonard, there's Benitez, Ray Leonard, there's Hearns, just so much skill and chess match involved, but a lot of aggression, just exactly like Luke said. And it was just amazing to watch. And I think it's very rare, I think you get two boxers that good in the ring against each other, fighting at a standard that's so high. And if you were to watch, for me, going into coaching and obviously now going back into boxing myself, if I want to, they're the sort of fights you need to be watching. If you want to be as good as the elite, they're the kind of boxers you need to be
absolutely.
watching.
I agree with you there. I mean,
that was like hardcore boxing porn. Yeah. I mean, that's how good that fight was. And so to see what I think the point Luke was sort of trying to make was that the casual fans are going to like an all-out brawl, as in people falling over, three or four knockdowns in a fight, whereas boxing fans like us, who are more hardcore and appreciate the sweet science, are going to appreciate a fight like Haney and Lomachenko.
Before Ender combusts, I'm going to suggest the term less educated.
No, that's worse. it's othering people, and it's not nice.
Yeah. I've got a comparison for you in terms of.
Can I just make my case for my fight? Or did I make it already?
But you've already made it.
Point. Can I make another point?
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Yes.
Am I allowed to make another point?
Yes, you're allowed to make another point. Yes.
We're talking fight of the year.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the 90s. You know, we had everything was looking rosy. You know, things were on the up. But we had a trilogy of super fights of two very not good fighters, you know, who wouldn't be considered world class at all. And I know, Adam, you're a huge fan of this trilogy. And it's Gatti Ward.
Yeah.
And I would class the Dermachenko Munguia fight in that category. It's not high class, but it's high octane and it's high entertainment, and it's what the general public want. You know, let's not other us. We're all human beings at the end of the day. Some people, of course, prefer. Like, I mean, I'm not particularly fond of that boxing, but it's good fun, and I enjoy watching it. And I asked my dad about it, and he'll go, "Yeah, I really enjoyed that fight." If I ask him about, a kind of Shakur Stevenson, who's the polar opposite, who's an excellent craftsman, but by Jesus, his fights can be dull as dishwater. You know what I mean? Like, I love watching, well, apart from the last fight, but that was an anomaly. I love watching Shakur Stevenson fight. I loved watching Sonny Edwards fight. But I know they're not everyone's cup of tea. The general populace, you know, that's their fights of the year. It's the Gatti Wards, it's the Dermachenko Munguia, and that's why I voted for that as fight of the year, even if it personally wouldn't be my best fight of the year. You know, I made a differentiation between that. You know, it's like your favorite fighter versus who you think is best. You know, but luckily for me, the answer to both is no anyway, so that point is moot.
I'm going to use exactly the same analogy as Enda said, right? Which is one was Gatti Ward and the other one was James Toney versus Gerald McClellan. A really, really, really good boxing match between two elite fighters. That's exactly what it was. And I think Stephen comes along with, again, it's what you like, isn't it? So just kind of saying, knows exactly what Luke and Michael are saying, and he enjoys the sweet science. Everybody loves a Gatti Ward, don't they? It's hard not to.
Oh, but I mean, like, how many times have any of us here just, you know, one of these Sundays and the football's not great or whatever, and you just stick on Gatti Ward, or you stick on, for a higher level, Barrera Morales? You know,
I must have watched Gatti Ward at least 20 times.
That's all.
Yeah, but the three, like all three.
So 60
that's your
times.
Comfort move.
That's my comfort move. Yeah, that and Marquez versus Diaz and a couple of other ones. Those are the ones
and
I must have watched. Yeah. So
you,
like
you
20
Marquez.
But yes, back to 2023.
Or do you know what? You know what's wonderful? And I know he doesn't have a lot of fans here, but he was the boxer of the 1990s, turning into the millennium for me. And you know who I'm going to say? Floyd Mayweather Jr. That fight against Castillo, was it Corrales? I always mix those two up. Was just sublime. He destroyed him. He dismantled him. He dismantled Canelo as well, but Canelo was very green around the gills at the time, so it's not quite the same. And Oscar De La Hoya, I mean, that was just excruciating.
Right.
You okay, Luke? You've still got that COVID.
Yeah.
What did you say?
A little bit. I didn't leave that in 23.
No, he didn't leave that in 2023, sadly. Right, KO of the year. This was actually a very fun one because there was 3 different shouts. Okay, so if I am correct, we have all three here for the show. So, Michael, who was your pick for KO of the year?
I had Zhang KOing Joyce in the rematch. I was convinced by Joyce that anyone could be knocked out, but from historically, when looking at Joyce's other fights, I started to believe that he couldn't get knocked out and that he had an iron chin. The way he would just walk through different boxes, like Parker and Dubois. Dubois, no matter what you think of Dubois, he can bloody bang, can't he?
Yep.
And the way he had his punches and just walked him down and beat him up, basically. And I thought, can anyone really put a dent in this man? But like Frotch used to say when people got cobra'd, unfortunately, Joyce got zanged.
He got zanged, absolutely.
Not once, but twice. But twice was... First time, he was more of a stoppage, wasn't it? He just got beat up.
It was the eyes closed.
And I thought the rematch could very well go the same way. But I didn't think he'd be KO'd like that, pretty much out cold. And I know it wasn't quite out cold, but he was more or less. He was out of it, wasn't he? And that rematch, it was a deadly KO. And I just thought, for me, that's KO of the year for sure.
Yeah. It was, I think it was very much kind of the erosion of the effects of taking so many shots over time. But I love a cleanup hook, the 1-2, and then he comes back with it. And it was an absolute peach of a punch. Now, I'm going to try and get this right. Endo, who did you pick for KO of the year?
I picked Wood versus Warrington. Didn't I?
I have not. That's not the one I wrote down.
Which one is down?
You put Gil Conlon.
Oh, sorry, Gil Conlon. Yes, because I was there. Actually, it was a toss-up between the two, but I gave it to Gil because number one, it was unexpected, and it wasn't unexpected. It was less likely in the eyes of the general public. But if anyone was going to get a knockout, it was Gil. But they didn't expect him to get it in the manner of which he did, and his absolute destruction of former Olympian Michael Conlon was something in my very cheap €40 seats, which seemed to be a lot closer to the ring than people to bet 60. But I just was fair play to Mr. Jordan Gill. He's one of the nice guys like Chris Billum-Smith, and it's nice when the good guys win. And then when we heard afterwards, the marital strife that had happened during the year and that really kind of torn his life asunder, it was nice to see him get that win. And you could see there was fire in his belly that night. And Michael Conlon was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, as they say. But from being there, I think is what swung it for me over Warrington. And if I'm not correct, were they the same night or the same weekend, or something was on the same weekend as Warrington Wood, because I didn't see that live even.
Then it was a Frank Warren show.
Yeah, but anyway, no. For me, it was Gil, because like that he caught him merely enough. Was it in round 1 or round 2, Luke?
It was round 1 he hurt him in, and then
it was round 1, and then he just, he laser guided missile, and he really didn't let up, and Conlon had nowhere to go. And like we've always said, if Conlon would just get up on his bike and box and move instead of trying to trade when he's no chin and he's no punch power. Like, now people will say he does have punch power, he locked down Lee Wood, but Lee Wood didn't stay down. Michael Conlon stayed down again. So I think he just ended the career of Michael Conlon, and for that I give him huge credit.
My favourite part of the Gil Conlon stuff was, if you watch us on a regular basis, you'll know that absolutely nobody picked Jordan Gill or gave him a prayer in the build-up to that fight, and it made every last one of us look like tits. It was hilarious.
Did I not say this?
Nope.
No, I'm not trying to after time.
Yeah,
Sorry?
it was.
I said we look like casuals.
Yeah, we.
Okay, right. But however, as this casual would say, I did preface it with, if Conlon chooses a firefight, Gil could get the knockout. I don't know whether I said this on this channel or on Joel's channel, but I did say that. And spoiler alert, I had money on Gil to win that fight.
And
last one of you. Good shout.
Yeah, that's it. It's good.
But I didn't have a knock. Well, no, I did have a knockout because he wasn't going to win on points. Yeah, no, I did have a win by stoppage, but it wasn't as big. Well, obviously it wasn't as big because the odds weren't that great, you know.
The bookies tend to be pretty good.
Hmm?
The bookies tend to be pretty on it with these sort of things. It's very rare.
Yeah, but I mean, like in fairness, if Gill was going to win, he was going to win by knockout. Conlan had lost how many of his last fights by stoppage? I mean, the bookies aren't going to give away money. But that's what I saw, and that's the bet that I saw the value in, because there was no value in Michael Conlan, you know.
What did you have, Luke?
Mine was Nakatani versus Maloney.
And you are not the only one.
Yeah, look, I mean, you showed us that fight, Luke, in the chat.
I sent that clip in.
Yeah. And it, like that knockout in and of itself, you know, for pure KO knockout punch, that wins it, absolutely.
And
you know,
that the best thing about that knockout, that happened at the start of last year.
Yeah, right? And that's how they lose out, by knocking people out in January.
I think it was late January, I think.
Yeah.
And I watched that live, and the sound of it was unbelievable.
Actually, if I remember, you told us about that. You said, guys, you have to watch this fight. And like you said, and I was saying about recency bias, because for me, it was being there bias was kind of what swung it for me.
Now, I'll give Michael his kudos for the Zhang shout again. Like,
that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant.
But what I'll say is, as well, Joyce made it to his feet somewhat, whereas Maloney was gone.
Yeah,
done.
That lad was away on holidays as soon as that punch landed.
That was. Do you remember the Oscar Valdez knockout of Burchell?
Yes,
that was the same shot from the different stands. Over right hand, he walked straight into it, and
it reminded me of Maravilla.
Guys, can I ask you a very straight question, which is ironic for me? What's your favorite knockout punch? You know, which punch to execute the knockout is the one you just love?
Are you talking about which knockout or the method?
The method.
Left
hook.
If
I was to land a knockout punch, what would it be?
Left hook.
Well, your favorite punch, your sweet punch to knock out.
Right hand or a left hook?
Yeah.
Straight right hook.
Clean up left hook is my favorite shot and a favorite one to watch. It's the left hook that comes round. Like the best example I can give for you is Lemieux not locking out Stevens.
Curtis Stevens, that was a good one.
Curtis Stevens.
My favorite, and
good fight as well.
I'm left-handed. I'm a southpaw if I was a boxer, but I'm not a boxer. But southpaw, and that corkscrew uppercut hook right to the chin that lands and just sends the guy out cold. That's my favorite shot. And Sonny Edwards actually executed one of those very well in the early part of the year.
I think the best knockout punch of all time, in my opinion, is Hearns Duran.
That right.
But I think even the casuals agree with you there.
Oh, they'd have to end it.
Martinez versus Williams, and
that's a very populist choice for you now, Luke. You usually go way off field for yours.
But that's it was just
no, but good. It is. It stands the test of time. That's why we're still talking about it in 2024.
But Maravilla Williams as well. That's what Nakatani reminded me of.
The Razor Ruddock smash. Yes, there we go.
Thank you, Stephen. I'll pretend Razor Ruddock wasn't my time, but yes, he was.
They call it it's a shovel hook, isn't it?
That's the 45 is what it is, isn't it?
Yes, it's a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite. It's my favorite knockout because it lands right on the jawbone and it pushes the jawbone into the brain and puts it to sleep, basically.
I love it. So we're also articulate, aren't we? What about you, Michael?
Best knockout ever.
What's your
favorite
punch?
knockout?
Favorite kind of knockout.
Oh, favorite. Yeah, it's a hard one. I quite like a left hook to the body. Quite like that.
Yeah,
it actually kills the life out of people, doesn't it?
That's the liver punch, isn't it?
Yeah, the liver punch. Yeah, it's just it's my favorite. Or the rib breaker.
Yeah, Luke loves them, don't you, Luke?
Yeah. Or I had to give Endo one once, but.
Well, obviously, do you know what? I thought I was a positive because I must have been doing something right for you to go, oh, fuck this.
You just came flying at me because you stop it quick.
That sounds like something you say in a guard station when you knock out someone cold. He came flying at me, guard.
I was scared for my life.
Right.
Yeah. That's where you're losing credibility. Now they don't believe you anymore.
We've got 3 left, gentlemen. So,
sorry.
Trainer of the Year. Now, based on this channel.
Sorry, Adam. Yes. Who won the knockout of the year?
Nakatani.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Nakatani won it. So it was me, Stephen, and Luke that voted for Nakatani.
No, do you know what? I wouldn't disagree with that. But, I mean, I'm not saying, right, Nakatani was the best knockout, but I wanted to put the Conlan knockout on record. Mm-hmm. The Gil Conlan knockout on record. I'm not saying it was the best. I just wanted it nominated. So I would agree with you. You picked the right decision.
Great minds, Stephen. Great minds. No one saying anything.
Well, mine is quite similar. Hook forward slash the 45 is a.
The 45, yeah. The De La Hoya
hybrid hook uppercut.
So the Trainer of the Year, we had 3 nominees actually. I'm legitimately shocked at one of the picks here. I'd have had money on somebody picking them and they didn't. But so the 3 nominations were Bomac McIntyre, Andy Lee, and Bill Haney. So would the person who nominated Bill Haney like to make their case?
Yes, that was me. I just think that Haney had obviously an outstanding year, like we previously spoke about. I think what else Bill Haney's done as well, he really sells Devin as well. He's not sort of just like his trainer. He's like his promoter, his biggest fan, shouts from the rooftops. He really makes Haney's name bigger in the media, and they back it up. They really back it up. They talk the shit, and they actually walk the walk when they're in the ring. And I just think he's done a really good job at Devin. And I think Devin's really becoming the fighter that they were all raving about a few years ago, but some of us probably weren't convinced. I think some people I used to see on social media, out of the 4 lightweights that were breaking through at the time, Haney was the worst to a lot of people. Out of the 4, the least exciting.
It was tanking. Tank was tanking.
But I think now he's proven that he's the real deal.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Hard work is paying off. And I think now they're benefiting, they're reaping the rewards from all that hard work. And they're starting to prove their point at last. And I think this is Devin Haney's coming out year now. And I think for that, Bill Haney gets a shot for me. 2 great wins as well.
Excellent. Yeah, big fan of that as well. Would the person who nominated Andy Lee like to make their shout?
What can I say? I am an Andy Lee fan. I'm going to make no bones about this. Is there favoritism involved in my decision making? Probably yes, but I'm not going to pretend it isn't. Like it would be an unconscious bias rather than a conscious bias. But I would believe it would exist. I've always admired Andy Lee as a boxer from the day I was the glove steward at the Nationals, his final Nationals that he won. And I was the glove steward that night, and the only guy in the blue corner to win that night was Andy Lee.
Nice.
So what does that tell you? Andy Lee, his performance of the year, how he got it was just in Riyadh, and it was how he molded Joseph Parker into a guy that could beat one of the baddest men on the planet, in Deontay Wilder, and his plan, his execution, everything he told Joe to do, Joe did. And he formulated the plan. He developed it in his brain, because I don't think Joe would have the capacity to do, or there's not many boxers that have the brain capacity and the eye for boxing and punching that Andy Lee has. And Andy Lee wasn't a boring fighter either. He got involved in some ferocious wars, but he always backed up what he did. He'd get knocked down, but he'd get up and knock the other guy the fuck out. Like he did in Madison Square Garden to win his title that was cruelly ripped from him by Billy Joe Saunders. And maybe that's why I don't like Billy Joe Saunders, but maybe there's
plenty of reasons to not like Billy Joe Saunders.
I was going to say that would be one of the lowest reasons to not like Billy Joe Saunders. There's a billion reasons not to like Billy Joe Saunders, and most of them you could even pick boxing ones. But anyway, back to Andy Lee and his wonderful train. You talk about Devin Haney and his dad, but Devin Haney is a brilliant fucking boxer. And the other nomination is for
Bomac.
He Bud Crawford. So who had Andy Lee got? Joseph Parker. Do you see where I'm getting at here, lads?
I think Bomac trained Eubank Jr. as well, didn't he, for the rematch of Smith?
He did indeed.
Again,
okay,
Eubank,
but I don't think you're going to win Fighter of the Year
fight
for fighting a tubby guy overweight with a dodgy ankle.
Like you said, it's not Eubank's fault, though. It's not Eubank's fault.
For sure, Parker, better lad with skinny legs who had just done loads of
You can't
like
box.
drugs, like, you know. Yeah. Like we can't go off the losers. We have to go off the winners.
We can base it on what we choose to base it on, Luke. You don't set the parameters for this. You know, we give our pros and we give our cons. I'm giving the pros to Andy Lee's. The reasons Bomac on the Crawford fight would deserve it, except Bud Crawford is an amazing fucking boxer. You know what I mean? So that's the reason I didn't give it to Bomac. That and the fact he doesn't know about gun carry laws in the United Kingdom.
So funny.
I didn't give it to Bomac either.
I'm not saying you did, but he was the other nomination, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it wasn't Luke.
Well, obviously it wasn't because Luke said it wasn't.
Yeah.
But like I do believe Luke. I'm not calling him a liar. Anyway, back to Andy Lee, and I hope Luke is back. I hope Luke has actually said Andy Lee as well, because I'd like to hear his argument. What?
We'll get there in a minute.
Yeah. So
anyway,
Andy
back
Lee,
to Andy Lee. Right.
Yeah.
Sum it up. It's that Joseph Parker performance. He made a diamond out of a lump of coal, and that diamond performance shone in Rhea. You know, sparkled in the desert.
So very quickly before I let Luke make his case, Andy Lee this year for the fighters he's in charge of went 7-0 with 5 knockouts.
Thank you.
That was his record for this year, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Luke, what was your pick?
Yeah, my pick was Ben Davison. I had to really give him kudos this year. Leaning in to Devin Haney as well. Now Enda's going to roll his eyes here because I'm going to name drop for a second. But I had spoken with...
I have 2,800 reasons to allow you to name drop, so I don't mind anymore.
If you knew all the names, I'd be so impressed.
Yeah, but there's 2,800 of them, you know? It's a great number.
I had my doubts about Ben Davison, like everybody did. And the first time I ever kind of was like, okay, maybe he is the real deal, is when I spoke with Bomac and Red, who coach Bud Crawford. And they were talking about seeing Davison work with Devin Haney in the gym. They had seen him like in person coaching him. And they had said to me, he's the real deal. And that's the first time I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'm wrong about him. And then ever since then, I've paid much more attention to him. And his wins and his performances as a coach in the corner and his fighters' performances have just been piling up and up and up and up in quality. I mean, like, I'm going to name 3 fighters here this year alone. We've got Lee Wood, who I had as fighter of the year. We've got Fabio Wardley, who is arguably the most improved fighter on the planet. I don't think that's a bold shout at all.
No, I think from a white collar background to where he is now is huge.
I'm very impressed with Fabio Wardley. I think it's going to go a long way.
Well, I think maybe in United Kingdom and Ireland, domestically, yes. I think in the world is a bit of a stretch.
It's hard to
get to world level. Wardley, I think Wardley will get very close to world level.
I'm not saying he's not world level. I'm just saying, you know,
like not even like. But what impresses me so much about Wardley is he didn't even, and this is no disrespect to anyone who's done white collar or anything. It's not like he came up through the unlicensed.
But then you'd be disrespecting yourself.
Fighters. He came up through the white collar route, fighting people who've never fought before, and then all of a sudden he's big and athletic. Feck it, I'll go pro, and he's turned into this class fighter, and he is class. And it's, I think a lot of it's down to Ben Davison's coaching. And then the third fighter I mentioned is another heavyweight in Anthony Joshua. Now, say what you want, he did a great job in 6 weeks with Anthony Joshua. That was, for want of a better word, a vintage performance. We're not seeing the end of AJ yet, so I don't want to call it vintage, but it kind of is. And
well, some tells me he'll be put on Venmo, or is it Venmo, pretty shortly by Eddie Hearn.
Venmo?
Is that
where you sell your old junk?
Oh, Vinted.
Vinted, yes, because you were saying vintage performance, and their ad is selling vintage clothes.
Sorry.
Sometimes my metaphors can be very strained.
I think Venmo is meant to be like a cash thing.
I think it's like Revolut, isn't it?
Well, am I getting a Vinted or something then? It's you sell your vintage clothes online is what the girl says on the ad. Yeah, Vinted then.
But I think he did the job with AJ. You know, now you have to give credit to AJ and Wardley and Wood. They're the ones in the ring doing the fighting. But I just think, like, from the low level guys that he has up to the very top, which is Anthony Joshua Lee Wood, I think he's doing an excellent job. He's wise beyond his years, it seems. And yeah, look, I think he is the real deal and the trainer of the year, going off the wins he's had this year that have accumulated.
Yep.
Can I just rebuttal on that? They're all excellent arguments except for the last one, Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was 8-1 on to beat his opponent.
Yeah. But he still had to perform.
It was still a dangerous fight, though.
Andy Lee's
a lot of people expect AJ to
boxer, Andy Lee's boxer was 130 to beat.
I know, but Otto Wallin had a good win before he fought AJ. Personally, I thought Otto Wallin was going to give him fits. I thought he was going to give him a really tough fight.
But do you not think Parker's win over Wilder was more impressive than Joshua's win over Wallin?
Yeah, I think Wilder was overrated as well.
But that's also not Ben Davison's only good win this year. But what I'm trying to say
like Luke had, Adam had said, it's 7-0 for Andy Lee this year.
Yeah,
but in what level? How many world title fights?
Parker beat Buns before that, didn't he? Before Wilder, he had less credible wins.
Well, I mean, like Luke, we're talking domestic scene here. He's after bringing on one of the next Irish contender. I won't say champion. I'm not so sure if he'll make that, but definitely the next Irish contender. I mean, he's brought on in leaps and bounds in Limerick.
I'm not.
What's his name? What's his name? It's escaping me.
Paddy Donovan.
Yeah. So and I don't like Donovan because I'm firmly in the Galway camp on that. But kudos to Andy Lee for what he's doing, and he's training with. He's giving Tyson Fury a few tips as well. Now it wasn't for the Ngannou fight, so don't blame him for that.
He was in the corner. But
he won.
No, like what
so he won
as well for AJ. So the argument for AJ as well, right? If you look at him only a few months ago, fighting Franklin, fighting Hellenius, it was single jabs, no stepping into punches, chin high in the air, trying to lean back, and boxing very, very methodically and robotically, right? Against Wallin, we've seen none of that. We've seen confidence, we've seen smooth combination punching, and we've seen a willingness to let it go.
Yeah, and he got his mojo back, as I said, and then it was Steve Kim robbed my catchphrase on that one.
And it's not so much the quality of the win I'm looking at, it's the quality of the performance of the boxer changed from when he was with another coach not so long ago. And I think that's why I include Joshua in that argument. But I think Lee Wood and Fabio Wardley on their own give Ben Davison a strong case. That's why I think that.
Okay.
So my case for Bomac, because it was me that picked Bomac, believe it or not, was basically
there's the smoking gun.
Yeah, right.
Hey.
So, two things I look for in a trainer. When it comes to the big fights, how does your man perform? And as we'll get on to in a minute, nobody performed better than Bud. But also my mark for a trainer is sometimes you have to win when you're not supposed to in the other corner. And we can say it was Liam Smith's fault for not turning up. The argument can be made for the way the first Eubank fight went. To go from getting a guy who was knocked out in 4 to beating the guy who just knocked him out as convincingly as Eubank did with the weeks that he had, those were the two big things. And I like it for he won when he wasn't supposed to, and he was the man that cultivated the performance of the year. And that was my argument for Bomac McIntyre.
And who won?
Andy Lee won.
Yay!
So Andy Lee was our trainer of the year.
Ole, 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 ole.
So I think that was
no bias. Ole.
That was another one that I think Stephen's vote swung it on as well.
Good man, Stephen.
So very quickly, there was one unanimous.
Was a Limerick man, Sean South from Garryowen. Sorry, I'm doing my little celebration there. I didn't think Andy Lee'd win, but I'm delighted he did.
No, he did win. There was one category that was absolutely unanimous, which was performance of the year. Everybody picked Terence Crawford. Now, I'm only going to let one person, because we need to keep going on with this, eulogize this about this, and he deserves this. So, Luke, the floor is yours.
There's the shock. I know it's going to be me.
Yeah. Look, you guys know. I think Crawford's the best thing since sliced bread. He's absolutely excellent. Southpaw, orthodox, doesn't matter. I think the only thing that'll defeat Crawford is weight. I think he's just that good.
Probably.
And you could throw him into any era that's ever been, and he'd mix it up with the top dogs. It's just a shame that he is getting on in years now, and the big fights are only kind of coming.
One unfortunate time for that to happen for the first time tonight. Michael, would you like to jump in and try and rescue Luke's thing?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I think the problem with Crawford is that the win was so dominant, it's almost worked against him now. No, it feels like people are giving him less credit for that win now because of how good he was, and how it's almost down to like people think that Spence was past it now, or Spence was shot, and that's why.
Well, I think people
was. But no, this is the fight that we all cried out for years. Crawford took it with both hands and absolutely destroyed Spence. So there was only one winner for this particular award, I think.
We've got Luke in stereo.
Back to you, Luke.
Michael was serving up a very good entree for you.
Did very well.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Michael.
Question: Have anyone watched it back recently?
Sorry,
I watched it.
Has anybody watched it back recently?
I've watched it twice since, but not recently. But I mean, I dined out, literally dined out on Bud Crawford. I said around 7 to 10, and he, luckily for me, he waited a bit before ending it, so I'm very grateful. I mean, I got to eat out in Shane Lowry's the multi major winner in golf, and he's from my local county here in Offaly in Ireland, and I got to go to his gastro pub and I had a wonderful Sunday lunch on Bud Crawford, followed by another few bits as well throughout the week. I ate like a king that week, mostly because I was in Burger King that week. But no, Bud Crawford deserves all the props. That was a dominant display against a fellow, A-star, gold level boxer, a pound for pound boxer at the time. Obviously he's not in it any longer because Bud destroyed him and his hopes and his dreams and his pound for pound ranking that night. So yeah, absolutely 100% by a million miles performance of the year is Terence Bud Crawford.
Yeah,
I think my only issue with that fight was it's just that because it was so dominant from Crawford, it was almost like we all wanted it to be this really close, like a Haney Lomachenko contest, didn't we? Yep. And that was the disappointing side of it. Although it was great to see a boxer as good as Crawford look that good and put on one of those historic, dominant performances of the era of this particular era, it was also disappointing there wasn't a competitive sort of Ray Leonard Hearns sort of fight that we expected.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but that's not Terence Bud Crawford's fault.
Oh, not at all, not at all.
So I understand the logic and I perfectly agree with it, but we can't. I feel it would be remiss to hold that against Terence. I'm not saying you are, but it would be remiss to hold it against Terence Crawford. He wasn't in Fighter of the Year. He isn't Fighter of the Year, but it was Performance of the Year by a country mile.
I genuinely think that performance, you could stick him in with any of the greats on that night.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's, and
people talk about all-time great, and it's usually recency bias that they use for it. But the one that I can say from this era that will go into all-time greathood and will be Terence Bud Crawford. I think he cemented his place on the all-time great list properly. Not in the case of like the heavyweights. Oh, is Fury an all-time great? He's in his fucking hole. He won't be talked about in 20 years' time. But Terence Bud Crawford certainly will.
Hey, and he had the most viewed Netflix show of the year. I'll have you know.
Kardashians must be spitting feathers.
Yeah, and he came out of it as a bigger prick than he already was.
Yeah, that's a fact.
How was that the most watched show on Netflix? That can't be true.
It is.
It was a very popular show.
Worldwide or UK or what?
I think UK and Ireland, yeah. But still, it set a record anyways.
That's absolutely
he made his bed. Just UK. He put on his
Yeah, he
little.
can't go to the US, sure. He's not allowed.
He put on his little national front boxing gloves. We know where his bread is buttered. We don't want him.
Second to last one. This is the only one that's still tied. Okay?
Oh, so are you going to be like Len from Strictly Come Dancing and giving the casting vote live?
I'm going to say yes because I don't know what that means.
Have you never watched Strictly Come Dancing? You have a girlfriend, for fuck's sake. I don't have a girlfriend, and I watch Strictly Come Dancing sometimes.
We watched it 2 years ago, but that's not the point. So we have upset of the year.
What's his name?
There are three fights that were nominated for it. We have Gil Conlon, Parker Wilder, and Espinosa versus our boy Robeisy Ramirez. And by the way, that was another fight that could have been fight of the year. That was really
unfortunately I didn't see it live, and I've only seen the highlights because I can't bring myself to watching it live. I'll watch the rematch live instead.
Oh man, it's such a good fight. But would somebody who picked Parker Wilder make their case, and would somebody who picked Gil Conlon make their case, please? I know who everybody picked. So
I'll start us off with Parker. So I went for Parker.
Fire away, Michael.
Yeah. Okay. I think to be honest, I know I voted this for upset of the year, and I wasn't really that surprised that Parker beat Wilder. But the reason I picked it is because there was so much hype going into AJ and Wilder happening this year, and how they were both on a collision course to box. I think I always thought there could be a spanner in the works that night. And to be honest with you, I thought it was more likely to be AJ than Wilder. But it ended up being obviously Deontay Wilder getting beat. And I think now that sort of everyone's a bit torn now. Where does AJ go next? I know I know you don't like this word, and hardcore casuals. Us hardcores, we all want to see the Zilly Zangs against AJ next, and the maybe Parker rematch. But it hasn't got quite that same level of excitement as the Wilder AJ thing. And I think that was such a, if you ask people for their top 5 fights they want for 2024, Wilder and AJ would have been it. And Wilder losing.
Totally agree.
Upset a lot of people.
Could I just say neither of those names are anywhere near my top 5 fights for 2024.
Fair enough, Ender. Fair enough. But they were in mine, to be fair. There was
you box at that level, so does Luke. That's your weight, kind of you're the heavier weights, and that's likely to what you look to, So I totally understand that.
I'm pretty certain I'll be the heaviest here by March.
Yeah, but you're not boxing at a competitive level, to be fair.
No, and I wasn't boxing at a competitive level even when I did.
No, but you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
In fairness to the boys, they're both on a journey, as RuPaul would say.
Well,
I just feel like Wilder and AJ would have been a really exciting fight, and this one I would have wanted to see.
It captures the imagination.
It would have been a 3-round tear-up probably at most, and there'd been a lot of drama and excitement. And
but if you had to pick 5 fights that must happen in 2012, would it genuinely be one of those 5?
Before, if Wilder had won, if Wilder flattens Parker, that would have been in there. But he did.
Oh yeah, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Isn't that what they say?
Luke, what did you pick?
I picked Gil over Conlon. Now, it's funny when we talk about underdogs, right? Because, and like you mentioned, the bookies odds and stuff like that. And that is like, obviously how most people would check who's the underdog, who's not. But like with people, like when you watch the boxing show, like the boxing news show, just for an example, like Rob Tebbett and the boys, like they know their stuff. And like, as does Adam. And I'll give Adam props here because he's one of the few people I've seen that pick. Well, I say a few people, enough people picked him, Parker over Wilder. And I don't think I've seen anybody in those circles, apart from yourself, Enda, who said it could happen, and you were right, pick Gil over Conlon. And I think Gil was a much bigger underdog.
Can I just say as well, there's a little bit there's a little bit of spite in that as well for me. I wanted Gil to win.
But you were still right. You were still right.
So it was like when I picked the Mexican to beat Well, no, I won't say it's like that because I genuinely believe the Mexican would beat Conlan, and he genuinely knocked him the fuck out. You know.
Yeah, like
Lopez.
That was again great. Yeah, he's a good champion though.
And but that wasn't after timing. I was saying
champion.
that I predicted that outcome. You know, that was my prediction. Lopez win.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, if you would have scoured the internet, say, for knowledgeable people, with those two fights, I can guarantee you way more people picked Parker to beat Wilder than picked Gil to beat Conlan.
That's 100% correct. That is 100% correct.
And I think the manner in which Gil beat Conlan as well, it was convincing.
Oh, it was a demolition job in his hometown.
Wilder Parker was convincing also. I gave Wilder like 2 rounds live. I rewatched it. I gave him 1, which was the last round.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, look, Parker was class. His game plan. Kudos to Andy Lee. Kudos to Parker for having the balls to pull it off. But I just think the upset of the year for me. I was there. You were there, and the place went silent.
In my cheap seat.
Everybody was astounded, including myself. I didn't know what to do. Like, I was watching it and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is actually happening.
Well, I wasn't going to cash out anyway halfway through. That was for
right,
sure.
Enda. No. Who did you pick?
If I'm correct, I picked Gil Conlan, didn't I?
You picked Wilder Parker.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I'm all over the place with what I said. But no, either of those could have gotten it, right? And can I change my decision?
I mean, you can, because it doesn't actually affect the outcome, because I've got the casting vote and I picked Gil Conlan.
But does that now make it even again?
No, if you pick Gil Conlan now, it makes it 3-2 Conlan Gil. So it makes it.
So it'll be 4-2 Conlan Gil if you picked it. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I am going to do what I have. It's my prerogative to change my mind. And I mean, it's the boys put forward great arguments, and it led me to believe, yes, it wasn't just because I was there, and it wasn't just because I don't particularly like Michael Conlan as a person. And I do like Jordan Gill as a person, like Chris Billam-Smith. He's one of the very good guys in boxing. One of the very few, I mean, not very good, one of the very few good guys in boxing. You know?
Big up Chris Billam-Smith.
And you know...
I'm contractually obligated to get that in once.
Yeah, but Chris Billam-Smith hasn't got a look in these awards, and it's no like, he didn't have a great year because his opponents weren't great, if you know what I mean. Like, if he fights Jaya Patai next year and beats him, he will win fucking Fighter of the Year in everybody's card.
Yeah.
But if I win the Euro Millions next year, I'll never work again, and I don't know which of those is more likely to happen. No offense to your good buddy, but you know, spend as much time with him as you can now, if that's going to happen. But Jaya Pattaya, why am I talking about Jaya Pattaya? Let's go back. No, I didn't mean kill him. I just meant, you know, he won't be smiling no more, if you know what I mean. What?
That's brutal.
You think that's brutal? Wait till you see what Jaya Pattaya does to your friend. Boom, boom. Ah! But
right.
Sorry, so you just left that wide open and I needed to land. What?
Jordan Gill.
Yeah, about Jordan Gill.
Yeah, Jordan Gill's performance in Belfast. Let me set the scene as Sophia in The Golden Girls, for those of you who watched it, maybe. Do you know what I'm referencing when I say The Golden Girls?
Not in the slightest, no.
Genuinely no?
No.
Okay, it's about three middle-aged women and one old woman who live in a condo in Florida together, and the hijinks to get up there. It was basically Sex in the City for the 80s.
Okay.
Anyway.
Is Jordan Gill in it?
No, but Mario Lopez was.
Oh, really?
He guest starred as a Cuban illegal immigrant that Dorothy was teaching English to.
Okay.
Poor Michael's rubbing his eyes going, I thought this was about the boxing. Oh, my fun way, I'm Red Road on here. But, sorry, that was my bad attempt at a Welsh accent courtesy of Little Britain.
I wouldn't put you in the cast of Gavin and Stacey, and put it that way.
Yaki da.
Right, let's quickly back to Gill. Back to Gill.
Oh, Michael, what's the curve?
And there was Jordan Gill now. We're sick to the Jordan Gill script.
Okay. Why am I avoiding talking about Jordan Gill smashing the face out of Michael Conlan? I have no idea.
Talking about your own pick.
Right, let's go back to Belfast. Let's go back the whole way back to Belfast when I was led on a merry dance by Luke by misquoting me and sending me halfway across fucking Belfast when I could have just gone to the place that we'd arranged. Let's talk about that. I met with Stephen and his son, who is 6 foot even, and it was a great night. Stephen and Luke were kind of doing a bit of what's that called? You know, when you're selling the fight, what's that called? They were on their tour, their promotion tour for their big fight next year. Anyway, so I arrived anyway, and Luke had gone on to the stadium because, you know, the cleaning lady was cleaning the ring and she deserves to be applauded as much as anyone else. So Luke has to get there for that bit, or something like that. So when I got in...
I'm not a casual ender. I have to be there from open doors.
You have to be there. You have to be there ringside in Belfast, God knows, because you need to hear those absolute banging 90s anthems being blasted out at full octane in the SSE Arena, which would give me a fucking migraine.
Fast forward to 9:30.
Back to Gil, because I'm about to get kicked out of my own living room by the missus.
Right, sorry. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward. Me no friends. Me get ticket because didn't sell out. Me get very good ticket, even though me pay cheap rates. Stephen and his 7 friends pay too much money. Too many friends. Too little room. They get shite seats way down the back. But I got to sit and watch a fairly decent, from a fairly decent angle. I got to see Gil absolutely demolish Belfast's own Michael. I'm a bit too patriotic for my own good, Conlan. The only good thing about the Conlan fight was his ring entrance, which was brilliant because I love Grace, and Sinead O'Connor singing it is immense, and, you know, sympathies to Sinead O'Connor, who passed away in 2023. But the other thing that passed away in 2023 was Michael Conlan's career, because Gil definitely sent that to the Undertakers.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. That was well done. Very quickly, I've got an apology to give to Stephen, because I basically texted him and said, by the way, we've got about 3 different categories that you have to decide. So he was thrown under the bus. So I thought Stephen did brilliantly in his pick. So my bad for throwing you under the bus. But so I also picked Gil Conlan, and I think, to be honest, Luke absolutely summarised it perfectly.
Well, when he won me over from my fight just by him speaking, what does that tell you?
Exactly. Thanks. I think I've ever seen that happen before in my life. But basically,
nobody. Public belief. I'm not stringent in opinions. I can be swayed if a cogent argument is presented to me, it will sway me. And
let's hear it.
Stephen was enjoying it. It's very simple, right? So, as Luke said, with the Wilder fight, I could see a way that Parker won. I couldn't see how he beat Conlan, because I didn't think he punched hard enough to stop him. That was what I did.
Did you not see Michael Conlan fight? It doesn't take much to knock him down.
I've seen Jordan Gill fight for years, and I've never seen, short of the Gurfey fight, and Gurfey'd been knocked out cold by way lesser fighters. That I didn't see it happen. I couldn't see how it happened, and the way he did it was that way the upset happened. Like I said, I like to think I know a little bit about boxing. Right? It's very rare I'm that wrong, and I was so wrong on that fight, and so many people were so wrong.
So being so wrong,
he'd only been knocked out by big punches, hadn't he? To be fair, like Luke Bez, he's no slouch, is he? And Wood's obviously no slouch. He's proven to be a big puncher. So
well, only since the Conlan fight is Wood proven to be a big puncher. I don't think he'd many knockouts prior to Conlan.
Flattened Kanzu.
He got Can coming forward.
Kanzu, to be fair, yeah.
I love that none of us did the same order there, but very quick. So that was there. However, I have kept this all to the last.
Yeah.
Because we've not, as you'll have noticed, not really spoken about any female fighters, any female awards, because it's very simple. Katie Taylor won everything. Katie Taylor won. Katie Taylor, Chantal Cameron 2 won Fight of the Year.
The best female overall international.
So yes, you voted for Serrano. So when I say unanimous, I mean that in terms of all the categories.
Oh, she actually won that too.
Yeah. So Katie Taylor won everything. Katie Taylor won Fight of the Year. Katie Taylor won Performance of the Year. Katie Taylor won Fighter of the Year, and Katie Taylor won Upset of the Year in the rematch. Katie Taylor won everything in the women's category. It was unbelievable.
And Serrano didn't win the international women.
You were the only one that voted for Serrano. Everybody else voted for Taylor.
But how could you vote for Katie Taylor in both categories? One was UK and Ireland, and one was rest of the
Well, you can win both. You could win both. Like you could.
So one was overall, and the other was only domestic. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God, I love Katie Taylor to bits, but I couldn't vote for her over Serrano.
Can I just make a point that's just off topic slightly?
Yeah.
And how good year 2023 was in boxing terms. Mm-hmm. I've never been more wrong in my life about fights.
Yeah, it's great. And that's what you want. It's good.
Yeah.
But and actually, speaking of where you were all wrong and I was right, can we speak about a little man called Navarrete?
You can, yes, of course.
Like, upset of the year, he could have been in a shout with that, except for Joseph Parker's demolition of Wilder. That's who I would have voted for, but I think Navarrete will definitely be looking at consolidation and unification in 2024, and a little Welshman who, if he picks up a belt, could be stripped, could be disposed of it pretty quickly.
He'll be going back home to Mexico crying if he comes over to Wales. Put it that way.
The only reason he'd be crying is because he'd have to all that duty free that he'd miss out on.
No chances, Cordina. No chance.
Yeah. I will put money on you. If Navarrete fights Cordina, Navarrete will win.
Was it 2019 or 2021 that we had a good year? There was a relatively recent year, but I think this is the best year for boxing. 21.
To me, that was the best good year since Julie in Coronation Street.
I don't understand that reference either.
Julie Goodyear played Beth Lynch in Leopard. How are you fucking not getting these references? I'm not that fucking old.
I don't watch Coronation Street.
Well, obviously, I don't watch it anymore because it's shit. But in the 80s, it was in its heyday. You said, I wasn't alive in the 80s.
Man, I was barely alive in the 90s. Like,
we know that. Sugar-free burn. You be quiet. And sure, Michael, I don't think was even born. Michael doesn't. Michael,
95. I was born.
What?
95. I was the year.
I said 85. I was going, fuck me. Who's your dermatologist?
You look fantastic. Right.
85. You still look pretty good for 95, to be fair.
What's the last point?
Sorry.
Was that the women's one?
That was the women's one. The whole point was Katie Taylor won absolutely everything in the women's category. So she was peerless with that performance.
I would argue it was a little bit unfair on Chantal Cameron because she won the first one, didn't she? Whereas,
if we look into the specifics of it, so as Enda said, he voted for Serrano. I voted for what did I vote for Chantal Cameron for? The first fight as upset of the year. That was it. And performance of the year. I voted both of them as the Cameron fight and the first fight rather than the Katie Taylor one. But overall, Katie Taylor won absolutely everything.
But I do think Katie Taylor beating Cameron in the second fight was a bigger upset than Cameron beating Katie Taylor in the first fight.
I picked Cameron to win the first fight, and I didn't pick Katie Taylor to win the second, which is why I think it's a bigger upset. Does that make sense?
You're confusing me. You did pick Cameron to win the first fight.
So I picked Cameron in the first fight, and I picked Cameron in the second.
Yeah. So Kate was a bigger upset. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but Taylor's was a bigger upset.
Because Cameron was a bigger fighter. Cameron was the younger fighter. Taylor had a few mediocre performances apart from that wonder fight in the Madison Square Garden.
I thought Cameron won the first one quite well, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, even as big biased Irishman, I couldn't but give. I think it was 7-3. I think I had it.
That was about right. I think that was the same. But we'll call that a day. I would like to thank each and every one of you for watching. Michael, Luke, Enda, I would like to thank you so much for joining us on this one. We might do a video to go through the pound for pound list, but we can't add that there.
Can we have one last comment?
Is this the Snyder cut, Adam, is it?
Yes. It's in the Snyder one. We'll get there. Yes, Enda.
One last comment. Who is your fighter to watch in 2024? Who's the one to watch out for? So he can't be a title holder or have been a title holder.
Michael O'Donnell.
Oh, yeah! Woo!
Yes. There we go.
Team O'Donnell, there it is. That's unanimous. Fuck Katie Taylor. That's unanimous.
That's the answer to go, and we'll call it that. So thank you as always.
And sugar-free, of course, in the maybe paid ranks. I don't know what it's called, the white-collar route or whatever.
But yeah, so both of our boys, Luke and Michael, are fighting. So Michael hasn't got his @ up, but I'll link it in the tweet when I tweet everything else out. But follow both of them because they're both going to be fighting soon. But big love, everyone.
And we're going to support them on their journey, be it online or be it in person.
Absolutely.
You know?
Appreciate it.
Peace out, guys.
See you then, boys.
Peace out. Happy New Year. Aflin fi Hanukkah.